Fat loss phases are meant for you to go in them intensely and to get the F out of them as quickly as you can so that you can recover yourself. You can not have your body in a chronic calorie deficit for long periods of time. And also, and probably most importantly, so you can enjoy your damn life. All right, welcome back to the show, everyone. I'm your host, Brian. Thanks so much for being back with me again this week on the Success Lift podcast. If this is your first time joining us, we've had some new people find us over the last several weeks. Welcome to the show. I hope you will find this informative. I hope you will find this educational. I hope you may find it inspirational and maybe even entertaining sometimes. If you are new here, we drop the show every single Monday. We drop the show on different platforms. YouTube is our newest platform that we have embraced and are pushing content out to. And we've been on Apple Podcasts and Spotify for the last 3+ years. We are pushing our 200th episode. I got a good one lined up for you next week, but we are not at next week yet. We're going to talk about this week. Before we do that, if you haven't subscribed to the podcast on Apple or Spotify, wherever you listen to on an audio platform, it would mean the world to me if you did that, especially if you come back regularly and get a lot of value out of this and tell your friends about it. That would also be massively, massively appreciated. And if you like YouTube, or if you at least know how to get to YouTube, it would be incredible if you could go subscribe over there. I was just checking out our subscribers, and it brought up, a little bit of a chuckle for me, but also a learning moment. Everything is a story. Everything is a learning moment in my new life of coaching. How can I learn from this? And we're at 74 subscribers on YouTube, which is on an absolute basis, minuscule, but on a relative basis, our subscriber numbers have doubled, maybe even tripled, since we started dropping podcasts, episodes on YouTube about a month ago. And so it's a good reminder for me and you, I hope, in your own journey, that there is relative performance and there is absolute performance. And oftentimes we get stuck on absolute performance. We continue to measure ourselves to an unrealistic bar. And what we really need to do, oftentimes, although that is important to know, hey, I want to be 10% body fat. Right now, I am 28% body fat. I want to lose 65 pounds. Right now, I've only lost 12 pounds. I want my marriage. I want to have sex daily in my marriage. I'm having sex once a month in my marriage right now. Those are all absolute performances, improvements, increases, decreases, whatever the situation may be for you. But what people don't do is they don't celebrate their wins along the way. I've started to talk more about this in some of my daily content on my email list. If you're not on my email list, please, what are you doing? Go to thesuccesslift.com. There's a little red button right in the middle. It says sign up here. It'll take you 10 seconds, maybe less. I'll send you a daily message. It's short, it's to the point, it's impactful, and I think you'll get a lot out of it. I talk about it as well on my Instagram and LinkedIn feeds. Those are also free places to check me out, like this is as well. You do not have to pay for my custom, high-touch, one-on-one advice as a one-on-one client of mine, or in my executive group coaching programs that I've been running, or my company wellness program that I have brought to corporate America to solve a problem that I am an expert at. That is not the speech that I want to give you right now. I just went on a little marketing tangent there. It's my show. You got to deal with it every once in a while. If you go to any of those platforms, you'll see me talk a lot recently about celebrating our wins, man. We are constantly in our heads about what's wrong, what we're screwing up, what we struggle with, what are we anxious over, what are we fearful over, what do we, especially men, regret and shame. It's like, God damn it. Why can't we just give ourselves some credit once in a while? I'm not saying to be unrealistic. I'm not saying to be delusional. I do not subscribe to either of those things in my life. I think you should be very honest with yourself. I think it's possible to both look in the mirror and say to yourself, I love myself. This acceptance, like body image acceptance, self-love acceptance, I think part of it is well-intentioned. I think most of it is absolute fucking bullshit, because you can't look in the mirror and truly love how you look when deep down you hate how you look. And so it's okay for you to say to yourself, I love myself. I love where I'm going to be. I love the thought that I am going to put in the work and develop an elite new version of me. There is nothing wrong with that. And so we don't oftentimes celebrate the progress along the way, because when you look in that mirror, you still may see rolls hanging over your belt. You still may see an image of yourself that you do not love. But let's also remember that you are coming on your own journey, and that journey requires you to make multiple stops along the way. We do not get in the car and drive cross country in one shot. We take rest stops. You do not summit a huge mountain in one shot. You set up camp. You hydrate yourself. You refuel. You rest. And when we do that, we often don't take the time to look over our shoulder or to look down. We're always constantly looking up or out onto the horizon of, I got to get to this thing. It's a failure if I don't get to this thing. How am I going to get here? It's so far away. When we never take a whole lot of time to look back or look down and appreciate how far we've come. And so it's an opportunity when you measure relative performance along the way in your journey to at least just acknowledge that you're doing something great. You do not have to be happy with where you're currently at. I think it actually makes sense for you not to be happy with it, because that's more of a realistic expectation. We try to fight these emotions away. We try to push these emotions away in our life. I shouldn't feel sad. I shouldn't feel angry. I shouldn't feel frustrated. Why? Why shouldn't you feel that way? You can feel that way, but remember, you have to separate your actions and your feelings. There has to be a moment where you can step into the middle of that fight and go, yo, chill. Here's what we're going to do, because my goal is X. My goal requires me to take a certain set of actions. And I've been saying this a lot lately. I'm going to continue to, because it's up close, front and center in my life right now in a lot of different areas. The tragedy that most people undergo is that they allow events in their life that they typically are not in control of to dictate what their response is, what their actions are. And ultimately that influences the outcome in a massive way. Event plus response equals outcome. E plus R equals O. You rarely control the events. You can only influence the outcome. You cannot think about a basketball game. I can train for years and years and years and years and show up one day and shots just don't go in, or more shots from the other team don't go in, or my 4 teammates don't play as well. I can only influence via my response. That is all we are in control over. And so celebrate some damn W's. So my subscribers on YouTube have almost tripled since we started. You go, Brian. You go, Success Lift Podcast. Now, let's get to freaking work, because we got to get to from 74 to 740 to 7,400 to 74,000 to 740,000 and beyond. And so I would love it if you'd be a small part of that and go subscribe. All right. Soapbox over. Marketing pitch over. Requests over for now. I want to build upon last week's conversation of the 4 reasons that you are trying to lose weight and not, with some hacks for you, some fat loss hacks, we're going to call them. All right. So hack number 1, if you are trying to lose weight and not losing weight is to go listen to last week's podcast if you haven't already. Let's review the 4 really, really quick, but please go listen because there's content in there. There's context and nuance in there that you're going to want to listen to. Number 1, you're not walking enough. Number 2, you're doing too much cardio and not enough resistance training. And you're combining the two, running around the gym, flopping around like a freaking walrus doing burpees. Number 3, you're not tracking your consumption and you're drinking too much alcohol thinking it's no big deal. Number 4, you don't eat enough protein and fiber. So fat loss hack number 1 is to go do everything that I just said. Go listen to the podcast. And if you have questions, just reach out to me. You can always reach me at brian@thesuccesslift.com. I am currently in the middle of a little bit of a cut, they call it, a little fat loss phase. And I thought it would be helpful for you to hear some of the things that I do in a fat loss phase. Now, some context, because context is king, as they say. I am very lean. I am currently 18.5% body fat based on my last DEXA scan, which DEXA can go F itself if that's accurate, because I feel sexy right now. And I think I look pretty darn good. And so I don't know if I'm actually 18.5%. If you would have asked me, I would have guessed 14, maybe 15, somewhere in that neighborhood. This is obviously very clear based on my reading, but you are most likely a much higher body fat percentage than you think you are. All right. Pop quiz. Sorry. I don't know what the right phrase is, but I want to burst your bubble, but prepare for that number to be higher than you expect it to be. And so I don't necessarily live my life in a fat loss phase very often. Most people are trying to lose fat for an extended period of time. Now, they're doing it wrong, i.e., some of the things that we talked about last week, and they're extending the amount of time that they are in that phase, and they're just completely screwing it up. Fat loss phases are meant for you to go in them intensely and to get the F out of them as quickly as you can so that you can recover yourself. You can not have your body in a chronic calorie deficit for long periods of time. And also, and probably most importantly, so you can enjoy your damn life. Because who wants to restrict their intake on a regular basis for long periods of time? And when I say that, what I mean is what you're doing and why you're screwing it up is because you're going into this deficit. You're depriving yourself for periods of each week, for a week and a half at a time, and then you go off for 5 days. So you're screwing this whole phase up because you're not actually committed to it. And so you're good Monday to Thursday at 4:30 p.m. and then you're a complete train wreck until Sunday afternoon. Maybe if it's NFL Sunday until Sunday evening, and then you get back to it. So you're never actually in a fat loss phase, but it feels like you are because you're depriving yourself for 4 days. So I don't really know if there's a more miserable existence than that. Spending the majority of your week thinking that you're dieting when you're not actually dieting. What the F are you guys doing? If you're going to diet, do it the right way. Do it in a committed way. Do it for a short period of time, as short as you can, and get the hell out of there. Then go recover yourself. What is recovery, you ask? Hire an expert. They'll tell you. Okay? Hire an expert. So, I'm currently in a fat loss phase. I am attempting to strip some body fat off. For context, I've mentioned this before. I went from about 222 pounds in the summertime of last year up to, I say that I touched 247. The scale did hit 247 one day. That was probably a little bit of an outlier. I was probably more 245, 246, but nonetheless, your boy put on over 20 pounds of weight. I say weight because I won't just say muscle. I likely put on some fat. You cannot put on 20 pounds of muscle as a 45 to 46-year-old man who has trained frequently for a period of time without putting on fat in 6 months. So I probably put on some fat. That's okay, because I definitely put on some muscle. I'm flexing for everybody on YouTube right now. Go to YouTube and subscribe to the show. And now I'm in the process of attempting to strip some of that fat off my body. I will likely land somewhere in the low 230s. That's at least in my head, my goal. I'm primarily going to listen to my coach who I pay good money to, who is fantastic. Shout out to my man, Ryan Stevens. And I'm going to do what the hell he says because I'm a professional, but he knows his stuff and I trust him and I have paid him to do a job. I've paid a program to do a job. He's the coach inside of it. And why would I not listen to an expert? And so we'll likely land somewhere in the low 230s. I don't know. I'm not really sure. We'll see what happens. And from there, we may hang out for a little bit. We may go into what we call recovery, performance, a lifestyle type of phase where, quite frankly, I'm just living my life. I'm lifting my balls off. I'm working on my cardio. I'm enjoying actually doing things for a living that I do, that I earn money and I don't lift and measure my food for a living. Or I may just be enjoying my family and my life and my friends and my social aspects of my life, things like that. And then maybe I go into another fat loss phase. Into a muscle building phase. I don't know. We'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. But for right now, I'm cutting calories. All right. So what I want to share with you is some of the ways I do it because I have become, through repetition and skill and education, quite good at this. And I hope that I can share some of my experience with you. And I hope that you'll get a little bit out of it and maybe learn something, maybe make a couple of tweaks. What I've realized is that I'm a master at figuring out how to make this as pain-free as possible. Now, let me be clear about this. When you are in a fat loss phase, when you're in a calorie deficit, when you are intentionally losing weight, you are going to feel hungry. There is no way around it. If you do not feel hungry, you probably are not in a deficit. And if you are, it's probably so minuscule that it's not going to make that much of a difference. So hunger is a prerequisite for being in a deficit and being in a diet phase and losing fat. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to starve yourself and eat bird food for 5 days of the week, because we know what happens on those other 2 days. And so there is the right ratio of hunger. There's the right ratio of what we call biofeedback. Is your sleep suffering? Sleep is an issue for me. I'm working on that. I want to be careful being in a deficit that's too significant for too long because my sleep already sucks and I'm working on it. And so I got to be mindful of that. Maybe my mental clarity throughout the day, my energy throughout the day. Thank God my sex drive is good, but my sex drive your sex drive might take a dip when you're in a prolonged deficit for a period of time. So we want to manage all of these things. Pun intended, we put too much weight on what the scale says, and we don't often always consider the other aspects of biofeedback and performance. And so when I am checking in with my clients, of course, we check in on what the scale says, but I'm asking them, how's your sex drive? How's your mental clarity? How's your energy? How's your performance in the gym? How's your sleep quality? All of these things, because they're all important. And it's just one data point at a time. If we see repetition in any of these, we want to dig in further. Okay. So now that I got all the caveats out of the way, because everyone just give me the fat loss hacks. Tell me what to do, Brian. Well, I can't tell you what to do because I'm a 230, at the moment, 8-pound man that's 6'6", 46 years old. And if you're a 62, 194-pound man or a 37, 126-pound female, the actions are different. The requirements are different. Not all of them. Most of them are pretty similar. So it's like context is always important. Nuance is always important, which is why I love podcasts. I love email. And at some point, I won't be on Instagram. I'll probably stay on LinkedIn because people just show their asses and give you a bicep exercise on Instagram. There's a ton of great information on Instagram. It's just frustrating. It's not frustrating. It's a free platform. I can't be frustrated with it. It's kind of annoying to me. And it's not how I want to live my life or run my business. Side note, Instagram was out recently, like Meta was down. And I see I'm in an echo chamber where you see coaches talk. And so you might not even seen this and you may not even have known. Like I didn't know, but apparently it was down for like hours of the day. And when that happens, some people freak out because they spend their entire day. I get it. They run their businesses on it. They run paid ads. They talk in the DMs, all these stuff. And then you have coaches come out, business coaches, and be like, you need to own your media. Here's the 5 things you should do the next time Instagram goes down. And I'm just like, there's 5 things to do? I think there's fucking one thing to do. Just go live your real life. All right. Now I talk to a different audience. I get that. But next time Meta's down, just put your phone away and go live your real life. Okay. because it's fake life on there anyway. So just go live your real life. I'm really drawing this out, making you earn my fat loss hacks. 20 minutes in, let's rip some. Let's rip some real quick, all right? Number one, do everything I said last week. Go back to episode number 198. 4 reasons you're not losing weight. Here's something else I do. I push my first meal later into the day. Brian, do you do intermittent fasting? I heard that loses fat. Well, I guess it's technically intermittent fasting, but there's no magic behind intermittent fasting. In fact, the only magic behind it is the same magic that creates all success in all diets. Calorie deficit, baby. Calorie freaking deficit. And so, yes, I do utilize a longer fasting period and a shorter eating window because I'm consuming less calories. And it's like opening up the seal when you got to pee after a bunch of beers. As soon as you go, you got to start going. And whether I have a 100-calorie Greek yogurt cup, which I'll talk a little bit about soon, or I have a 500-calorie meal, I feel like, and maybe some of this is just mental, I feel like, I've told my brain it's time to eat. So a couple hours later, I'm looking for the next thing, no matter what amount of calories I've consumed. And so I push out my first meal because I would rather not have to fight that fight at night. Just realized I rhymed. Fight the fight at night. All right. I want to give myself some room for a few calories at 7:30 or 8 p.m. because I'm tired. I love a little dessert. I feel entitled to dessert. And my mental focus on what it is I am trying to accomplish is far greater first thing in the morning and throughout my early morning hours of the day. Because I'm also busier too. For most professionals, fasting works because you might have your commute. Maybe you do go to the gym. I don't know. We're drinking coffee. We're drinking water. Those can help keep your satiety at bay for a bit. And then we get busy. We get busy with work. At 8 p.m., you're not busy, most likely. And so it's like, let me see what's in the pantry. Did anything show up in the pantry in the last 14 minutes when I checked previously at 7:44? It's 7:58. Let me go check the pantry again. Does anybody do that? I do. I wonder if anything new showed up there. All right. So I push my first meal out so that I have more time at night to be able to eat something if I want to. All right. We'll talk a lot about protein for the next few minutes. I go protein early and often. Early and often with my protein. Why do I do that? Well, I want to get a head start. I want to make sure when I'm losing weight on the scale, I'm losing mostly fat. There are a number of different ways to do that. Or not a number of different ways. There's a number of different contributors in doing that. Number one, we want to be strength training, lifting weights, less cardio for fat loss, more strength training and walking for fat loss. We want to send muscle building signals to the body, preserve muscle, shed fat. If you just eat less and don't do any more exercise, you will lose weight. That's science, baby. That's science. But you're going to lose muscle. You're going to lose the same amount of muscle as you do fat, usually. I don't know what the stats are. I think everyone's different, but there's probably pretty equal. You end up looking like a skinnier version of yourself, which is shit right now. So that's where the term skinny fat can come in. No, we don't want to be skinny fat. Fellas, ladies, you want to be skinny fat? Come on. Come on. So I go protein early and often. Why? Another reason. It keeps me satiated. Protein is one of the foods that you can consume that have a ton of satiation. Another food you can consume that is very satiating is fiber. Holding up an apple on YouTube. Go check me out. Subscribe. We're going to talk about fiber in a little bit. But going protein early ensures that I make sure I hit my target for the day. We want to be hitting our protein target for the day. What's your target, you ask, Brian? Well, everyone is different. Hire a coach, get professional help. But in general, I would shoot for about 1 gram per pound of target body weight. Now, I consume a little bit more than that because I enjoy eating protein. It does keep me feeling full. And I am really looking to make sure I maintain my lean muscle mass as much as possible. Okay? protein early and often. Plan it out. I'm not even going to talk about planning in this podcast because not everyone's going to use a tracking app. But we talked last week about you're not tracking. You don't know what the hell you're doing. You don't know all the mistakes you're accumulating throughout the week. So I plan early to hit my goal so that I hit my goal. There's never a day where I don't hit my protein target that's unintentional. Unintentional, intentional. You know what I'm saying. All right. Another thing I don't do much of. Now I still do because I have a lot of I'm dieting right now at 3,500 calories. That is many people's wet dream. Now also I'm 6'6", 235 to 40 pounds. But my metabolism runs hot, baby, not because of my genetics, because of the goddamn work I've put in. The goddamn work. I've done this for years and years and years. And that's why I can consume 4,000 calories and not gain a frickin' pound. And you eat 2,500 and your scale goes up too. Put the work in, baby. Put the work in. The next thing that I recommend people don't do, I do a little bit of it because of the amount of food I can eat. But I would highly recommend that you limit or do not snack. As some of my meathead friends from New Jersey, with love, say, snacking is for fat bastards. Now, if I just hurt your feelings, I don't say it. I just reported it. They do. Okay. Second off, the statistics show that people who snack consume a pretty reasonable amount more calories than people who do not snack. I think it's something around like 500 to 600 calories more a day. And by the way, people who track typically under track by like 1,000 calories or something like that. It's absurd, the lack of precision that we have with this stuff. And we wonder why we don't get results. But if you don't snack, you're going to stick to main meals. When you stick to main meals, typically people don't say, what's for dinner? Oh, let's just have potato chips. You know, we're going to have pretzels for breakfast today. Most people who are after a particular goal don't say that. So our main meals end up being predominantly whole foods. They have balance between protein, fats, and carbs, right? Eat bigger meals if you need to snack. If, you know, I've never heard anybody say, you know, I ate too much grilled chicken, sweet potato, and broccoli for dinner. How many times have we said I couldn't put the pretzels down once I started eating them? So get your hands out of the snacks, because the probability that you can overconsume them goes up really, really high. Now, I'll give you some great protein-centric snacks and some fiber-centric snacks. I have one at my desk right now. I already held it up, a little Greek yogurt cup. Big fan of Oikos. It's got some I got some blackberries in it right now. Great source of nutrients and fiber in the apple. A little protein and produce snack right there. We're going to talk about that in 1 second. Actually, let's just talk about it right now. Eat predominantly protein and produce. When I say produce, it's a little linguistic play for fruits and vegetables for the most part. For the most part. Why? Because of fiber. You can also get fiber from other things like oatmeal, brown rice, potatoes. Those are some of my favorites. Bananas, avocado. Be careful with the avocado. It's going to be fat dominant, therefore calorically dense. Brian, I can't eat avocados? No, I didn't say that. I just said be careful with fat calories. They're 9 calories per gram, whereas carbohydrates and fat are 4 calories per gram. So it's like people say, I'm going to cut out carbs and I'm going to lose weight. You're a moron when you say something like that. Now, if you say, I'm going to cut out processed carbohydrates and I'm going to stick to single ingredient real food ones like fruit and vegetables, and I'm going to limit some of the ones that you can tend to maybe overconsume, like white rice or something like that, and I'm going to have some potatoes here and there and definitely sweet potatoes, then I'll be like, okay, that makes sense. You don't have to lose weight, but that makes sense to me. I support that if it works for you. The biggest sin that I hear people say all the time is like, I'm going to In-N-Out Burger now, or insert your favorite fast food place, and I'm not getting the bun. Not getting the bun. Took the bun off. Yeah, that's going to work. How's that working for you? How's that been working for you, taking the bun off of your fast food hamburger? Here's a little math for you. All right. We'll talk about lower calorie swaps now. I'll lead this into lower calorie swaps. One of the big hacks for you is to start eating leaner cuts of protein. And so, yes, a ribeye is protein. Yes, a hot dog has protein. Yes, a bratwurst and, kind of fattier sausages have protein. But what they also have as well is high quantities of fat. So when you go get your fast food burger, yeah, it's loaded with cheese and it was probably cooked in, oil, but it's not the seed oil that is making you fat. It is the calories that it was cooked in and put on top of the burger that is making you fat. All chronic disease, all obesity issues ultimately work their way back to the overconsumption of calories. Yes, it is easier to do that with heavily processed food. It's easier to do that with things that are kind of addictive like sugar. But sugar and seed oils are not making you fat. All right? I'm sorry if that triggers you, but that is a fact. And take it from someone who started their journey 10 years or so ago by cleaning up his food quality and having a relationship with some of those foods like they were the devil. I used to tell people they should not have diet soda because of the artificial sweeteners in there. They're going to wreck your gut. It's simply not true. It's not true. Am I suggesting that you load up your body with aspartame? I didn't say that. And that's where we get this polarization online where it's like, you drink Diet Coke? Yeah, I have a Diet Coke every once in a while. Oh my God, you put artificial sweeteners in your body? Yeah, once in a while. I didn't say that I put 600 Diet Cokes in my body a day, which is the amount of artificial sweeteners that's shown in rats, not humans, rats, to cause cancer. That's not possible to consume that much aspartame. Now, is it healthy? It hasn't shown any negative effects, but I'm not going to sit here and say it's healthy. Okay, so there's context. There's always context and nuance in all these things. Right? So what people do is they go to, let's just stay on In-N-Out. They go to In-N-Out Burger. They get a double with no cheese, 500 calories, by the way. I got it on my app right now, 31 grams of protein. Not great. To be fair, not great. All right. Now, of course, when you go to In-N-Out, you don't not get the fries. And maybe you get a Diet Coke, but you might get a sugary soda, or maybe even get a milkshake. So you end up dropping 1,200 calories anyway for a very limited amount of protein. And what people do is, instead of getting now that's probably 80-20 beef at best, but a lot of people get 85-15. And that is, again, looking at my app, 360 calories for 31.5 grams of protein. When you could get 93.7 ground beef for 100 calories less, 255, 105 to be fair, and 34.5 grams of protein. And so starting to consider what is the quality of the food that I'm eating. And I don't just mean from is it real food or not? Because a ribeye is real food, but a ribeye has a shit ton of calories in it. I'd rather see you eat a filet. On the other extreme of that is if you're really cutting calories, you got to eat some grilled chicken. Now, Brian, all the nutrients are in, the high quality red meat. You're right. There's less nutrients in grilled chicken. You got to swap some egg whites for your egg yolks. Brian, all the nutrients are in the egg yolks. Yes, I know. And that's why we don't want to stay in these fat loss phases for that long, because we are making sacrifices. I am going to suggest that you consume less extra virgin olive oil, less avocado, less almonds, less walnuts, less hemp, less flaxseed, less chia seed. But what do you mean, Brian? Those are all great sources of healthy fats. Yes, they are. But they are more than double the amount of calories. Not all of those. Chia's got protein in it. The hemp's got protein in it. Let's just take avocado and the olive oil. Both are fat calories, especially olive oil. Liquid, man, that adds up so fast. But they're effectively pure fat. You're going to want to limit some of those. You're going to want to eat less salmon and more whitefish. That doesn't make sense. Where does that make sense? Well, it makes sense if your goal is to reduce calories and keep your protein high. So while I wouldn't suggest that you do that for the rest of your life, I might suggest that you implement more of those types of foods, those swaps, 0% Greek yogurt for fat-free yogurt. looking down into my cooler. I got a cooler here for you guys. That's another thing. You got a cooler? You put protein snacks in your cooler? You put your meals for during your kids' games on the weekend in your cooler? I do. Maybe that makes me weird. Or maybe it makes me concerned with the level of excellence that I desire. Your desire for what you want will absolutely squash discipline. If you're looking for a hack in your life, develop some desire. Let me get through the rest of these quickly, all right? Think about more low-calorie swaps, high-protein, low-calorie swaps. Think about some prepared proteins for yourself. I'm like becoming a real Costco fan. These are pre-made chicken bites, fully cooked chicken bites. Open up this little baby, 140 calories, 24 grams of protein. I am a huge fan of this. Sliced sirloin, all right? Grass-fed for all my quality freaks, okay? Low in calorie, high in protein, can pair it with anything, ready in 5 minutes. I got some egg whites in there. I'm going to just be done with this for now. I got some egg whites in there. We want to have egg whites, more egg whites, less eggs. All these little things here and there, all these little tweaks that we make, all ultimately add up to fewer calories, more protein, more satiation, more lean muscle mass. Lean muscle mass is more expensive to service. You and I sit on the couch, we watch a movie, I burn more calories. It's not fair, it's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. Last fat loss hack for you. Start to consume more low energy density foods, high volume foods, we like to call them. Think fruits and vegetables. This apple that I have on my plate is like 110 calories. I had an orange before I started the podcast. It was like 80 calories. Maybe even less. Sorry, in total, there were 151 calories in total. Great snacks to have at work, at your desk. Keep an orange, keep an apple. Great sources of fiber, good sources of vitamins and minerals. Some other non-fruit and vegetables, low energy density, high volume foods. Popcorn. You want to snack on some popcorn? Have some popcorn. Maybe don't get the ones that have the butter, drowning in butter, right? Lesser Evil is a good brand that I like. Oatmeals, potatoes, watermelon. Think about how dense watermelon is. It's mostly watermelon, right? So that has a very high volume amount that like you can eat a lot of that. What is the opposite of that? Think of high energy density, low volume. A tablespoon of olive oil has like 120 calories. Peanut butter, for all my peanut butter guys out there who are avoiding that cancerous red meat and you're getting more of your protein from peanut butter. How's that working out for you? It's an insane amount of calories for low protein. Does peanut butter have protein? Yes, it does. Is it an efficient source of protein? Not even freaking close. So you have to avoid protein? Avoid peanut butter? No, I didn't say that. Again, here we go. Brian's anti-peanut butter. I'm not anti-peanut butter. I actually love peanut butter. But I would suggest that you go with PB Fit or PB Powder, which is the powdered peanut butter that you can add to things. You can add it to your yogurt. You can add it to your baking mixes. You can add it to your shakes if you're in a fat loss phase. Because why would you waste 190 calories on a small scoop of peanut butter? And when I say small scoop, it's just the type of scoop that we all take. Remember from last week, if you actually take a real tablespoon of peanut butter, I can't trust you. Okay, let me recap these really quickly. Go to episode 198, re-listen to it. The 4 things that you're not doing enough of to lose fat. Number 1 here in episode number 199, push out your first meal. Extend it, okay? I'm going to give you a bonus one inside of it that relates to that. Extend your meals inside your day. What I mean by that is you're going to feel hunger cues at some point. Actually, right now I'm feeling hunger cues. Now I have a snack waiting for me. I was going to eat it before, but I said, you know what? Let me do a 40-minute podcast and then have it. And that's exactly what I suggest for you. You're not going to die if you wait 30 to 40 minutes once you feel hungry. Drink a little water, do something, get a little work done, put a timer on, 30 minutes later you can eat. Extend. Buy yourself a little more time. I didn't say go 4 hours and don't eat, because then when 4 hours hits, or when it's 3 hours and 22 minutes and Susan brings donuts into the office, you turn into the fucking cookie monster, the donut monster. So just wait 40 minutes, then go have your food, okay? Protein early and often. Plan it if you can. Keep you satiated. Keep that lean muscle on your frame. No snacking. It's for fat bastards, says my friends from New Jersey. Not me. I love you. Protein and produce. Keep you satiated. Keep those vitamins and minerals up. Volume. We want to play a game of how much can we jam in our mouth for as few calories as possible. Then check out those lower calorie swaps. 85-15, 80-20 beef for 93-7. You can go higher if you want, but it's like 96-4 tastes like cardboard to me. Stop taking the goddamn bun off your cheeseburger at In-N-Out and just eat some more lean ground beef and rice throughout the week. Then go to In-N-Out once and don't be a savage. All right, 0% Greek yogurt and dairy for full fat. Egg whites for some egg yolks. Grilled chicken for fattier cuts of meat. If you gotta have steak, at least have a lean filet. All right, whitefish for salmon. Things like all of it? No, not all of it. Just some of it. Complement some of those nutrient-dense foods with all those incredible vitamins and minerals with some of these other things that are low calorie but still keep the protein up. And then think high volume foods, think low energy density foods, fruits and vegetables, popcorn, oatmeal, potatoes, watermelon. I said fruits and vegetables. All right. This is the recipe, but get into this phase, commit to this phase, and then get the F out of it quickly. Now, if you have a lot of weight to lose, you're not going to be able to get out of it that quickly, but you can toggle back and forth over the course of time. How do you do that? Hire a professional. I appreciate all you guys. Thank you for sticking with me. If this is your 100, I know that there are people out there that this is the 199th episode that they've listened to, and I cannot tell you from the bottom of my heart how appreciative I am. If this is your first or your 10th or whatever, thank you so much. If you could please go to YouTube and subscribe. I'd love to get us to over 100 subscribers really, really soon. I would love to continue to grow the downloads on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So if you listen there, please subscribe. Tell somebody about this. That's how we've been growing. Thank you so much. Have a great week, and I'll talk to you guys soon.